I never thought buying my dream car would turn into a full-blown war with my neighborhood HOA, but life has a funny way of teaching you lessons in the most unexpected places. To give you some context, I'd been grinding for years. Long hours, late nights, countless sacrifices, everything just to climb out of debt and into stability. And when I finally hit that milestone, I wanted something that symbolized that climb. For me, it was a BMW. Not a ridiculous supercar, not something I couldn't afford, just a sleek, beautiful, brand new BMW. I'll never forget the feeling of driving it home that first night, the soft leather against my hands, the subtle growl of the engine. It wasn't just a car, it was proof. Proof that all the sweat and frustration had paid off. For about a week, I was on cloud nine. Every morning, I'd step outside, coffee in hand, and admire it in the driveway. It wasn't about showing off. It was personal, a reminder of how far I'd come. But then the letter came. A thin, white envelope in my mailbox with that dreadful HOA letterhead stamped across the top. At first, I thought it was some routine notice about lawn maintenance or trash day. Nope. Inside was a typed message dripping with passive aggression. According to the HOA, my vehicle disrupted the uniform image of the community. They claimed it was too flashy and not in keeping with neighborhood standards. I remember my hands tightening around the paper as I read it, my jaw clenching. My mind kept replaying the words, too flashy, like success was some kind of crime. The absurdity of it was mind-boggling. Across the street, one neighbor had a busted-up pickup with rusted fenders that hadn't moved in months. Another guy had 3 mismatched sedans parked halfway on the grass. But somehow, my clean, polished BMW was the problem? At first, I felt embarrassed, like I'd done something wrong just by owning it. I even started parking a block away, convincing myself it was easier than fighting the board. Walking past my own house without my car in the driveway made me feel invisible, like I was letting them win. But the more I thought about it, the more it burned inside me. Why should I be ashamed of the one thing I'd earned fair and square? Why should I hide my car because some bitter HOA members thought success didn't fit their cookie-cutter image? It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about principle. These people wanted to control me, to dictate what was acceptable, and they expected me to roll over quietly. That was the turning point. I realized if I kept giving in, I'd always be at their mercy. And if they thought my BMW was too fancy, then fine. I'd give them something truly worth writing letters about. That night, sitting at my kitchen table, I could barely sleep as the plan started forming in my head. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to embarrass them with the one thing they hated most, visible proof that I was untouchable. The next morning, I called a friend of mine who worked in luxury car rentals. He owed me a favor from years back, and when I explained the situation, he practically laughed out loud. "So, let me get this straight," he said. "Your HOA thinks a BMW is too flashy? What do you want, a Lamborghini? A Bentley?" I paused for effect and then said, "No, I want the most obnoxiously elegant Rolls-Royce you can get your hands on." There was silence on the line, and then he burst out laughing. "Oh, this is going to be fun." 3 days later, my driveway and the HOA's office parking lot became the stage for my revenge. Early Monday morning, the kind where the sun is just spilling over the rooftops, a flatbed truck rolled into the neighborhood, and on it sat a Rolls-Royce Phantom, gleaming black paint so polished it reflected the sky. Chrome details caught the light with every angle, and the Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament stood like a silent, smug middle finger to every petty HOA member in existence. I remember my stomach buzzing with nervous excitement as I signed the paperwork. It felt like gearing up for battle. When I turned that key and the Phantom purred to life, it was like commanding a beast. The quiet power, the smoothness, it was luxury on wheels. And I didn't park it in my driveway. No, that would have been too easy. Instead, I drove it right up to the HOA office building, slid it into the prime spot directly in front of their glass doors, and locked it with a satisfying click. I didn't say a word. I didn't leave a note. I just walked away, leaving that $500,000 piece of machinery as my silent protest. The reaction was priceless. Within the hour, board members were milling around outside, pretending to inspect the sidewalk while stealing glances at the rolls. I watched from my window with a cup of coffee in hand, the same coffee I used to drink while staring proudly at my BMW. Only this time, the pride was sharper, laced with delicious pettiness. A few neighbors walked by, whispering, their faces split between awe and confusion. Someone even took a picture. And then came the moment that cemented everything. One of the board members, a tall, thin man with an always-too-tight tie, the kind of guy who lived for rules and bylaws, stared at the car like it had personally insulted him. I could almost hear his internal monologue screaming, "How dare someone bring this into our perfect little neighborhood?" Eventually, I overheard him mutter, "Whose car is that?" The tone wasn't just confusion. It was anger, like the Rolls-Royce was mocking him. That night, I drove it back to my driveway and parked it under the streetlight, letting it shine like a monument to their hypocrisy. Every day that week, I alternated between leaving it in front of the HOA office and parking it proudly in my driveway. I didn't confront them. I didn't respond to the letters. I let the car do the talking. And boy, did it talk. Loudly. People who'd never spoken to me before suddenly struck up conversations. "Is that yours?" "Wow, how'd you get it?" Some were impressed, some were envious, but the best part? The HOA went completely silent. No more letters, no more complaints, just tight smiles and forced small talk at the next meeting. By the time I returned the Rolls-Royce, my BMW felt almost humble in comparison. But here's the kicker. After that week, the HOA never mentioned my car again. Not once. My BMW sat in the driveway, shining just as it always had, and they didn't dare touch it. The message had landed. Mess with me, and I'll play your game at a level you can't compete with. Looking back, I realized the car wasn't the real battle. It was about dignity, about not letting small-minded people shame me into shrinking myself. That HOA wanted control, but all it took was a little creativity and a Rolls-Royce to remind them they had none. And the best part? I didn't have to yell, threaten, or break any rules. I just let their own pettiness blow up in their faces. Every time I walk past my BMW now, I smile a little wider. Because it's not just a car anymore. It's a symbol. A reminder that sometimes the sweetest revenge is quiet, classy, and parked right where your enemies can't ignore it.